mine, it's like a language arts unit, but I base it all around the book Holes. I'm sure a lot of you guys read that in middle school. So it's a 7th grade lesson plan. The first day, I introduce the students to the book. We begin reading it, and basically what I'm going to have, my main things throughout the lesson is they're going to be journaling all the time with it, and they're going to be making sure they're plotting the characters and how some of the characters change throughout the story and all of that. So we will start reading the first day. They will receive these sheets that have all the characters throughout the story, and they also have in the back I want them to write throughout the story the theme and setting and all that kind of evolves. So I want them to keep track of that as they're writing, because you can get kind of lost because it jumps back and forth between present and history. And like I said, they'll also be journaling all throughout it. So I'll give them these. There's a rubric there of what they'll be graded on with the journal. It has to be relevant to their reading assignment, because there will be assigned reading outside of class, so I want to make sure they keep up with it. They need to make sure they write a central theme sentence after each entry, and then practice good grammar, the writing being neat and stuff. The second lesson, they'll be writing an ironic poem. The story Holes has a lot of hidden irony that you don't really notice. For example, Stanley's a really shy and meek kid, but all of the campers call him Caveman, which kind of exudes a really masculine and strong personality, which he doesn't have. So I go over with my students what irony is, and they get to pick a character from the story and write their own poem. I will have this model of a poem on the board for them, so they know what I'm looking for. I don't like to make stuff worth a lot of points, because I feel that takes the creativity out of it and makes students stress more about the grade and everything. So I just kind of like to go with certain guidelines. It has to be 5 lines long. It has to demonstrate irony to a certain extent. It has to be something about holes in the book. It can't just be a random poem. And it has to be neat. For homework, like I said, they'll always be journaling and reading outside of class. On the 4th day, they'll have a pop quiz. This is the only time I do this, because I don't really like to do this either, but I know 7th graders, they kind of are sick of school at that age, so I want to make sure they're reading. It's really easy. Basically, the pop quiz it's only worth 10 points, and all it does is it tells me if they're actually reading or not. And if they're not, then I obviously have to change the curriculum a little bit to make sure they're doing that. And then they'll do an evil woman assignment, because at this point in the book, they're starting to really see how mean the warden is and stuff, and how she abuses the campers. So they'll be in groups, and they'll get to go in the computer lab and go online, and it can be fiction or non-fiction of just evil women throughout history. One of my examples was Cruella de Vil. You could put her on your list. You have to come up with at least 5 women, but you can do more. And then you're supposed to rank them, and then put the warden in this list and rank her, and then they write a 1-paragraph summary of why they chose her, and they have to give an example from the book and tie it in. And it's just to emphasize group work, creativity, and speaking in front of the class. Throughout the story, Stanley's character evolves a lot. Like I said in the beginning, he's really shy and meek, and then he gets really independent and stuff in the end. So we'll have to create character maps where the more artistic students will get to excel. They'll actually draw something. This is just my modeling for them. But they'll draw Stanley, how they see him in the beginning of the book, and then they have to draw at least 10 lines off of his picture and use the most creative adjectives they can think of describing him. And then on another sheet of paper, they'll draw how they see his character at this point in the story, and how he's changed. And just compare that and share with the class. They have to write a prediction chapter. At this point, we're towards the middle end of the book, and Zero, one of the characters, has run away, and Stanley's unsure of what he's going to do. So we'll have a whole lesson on prediction and talking about it. I'll have examples on the board of number patterns and color patterns, and I'll be what do you think's gonna come next? And they'll tell me, and I'll explain to them that they were predicting. And then they'll they have to write their own chapter of what they think Stanley's gonna do. And the next day we'll read them and compare them to what they wrote. This one is a vocabulary lesson because although Holes isn't a very difficult book to read, it does have some pretty big vocabulary words, and I think a lot of students who aren't strong readers tend to just skim over words rather than look them up. For the focusing activity for this lesson, half my students will be given random index cards that will have like one of these words on them, and then the other half of the students will have index cards with the definition, and they'll be given a few minutes, like 5-10 minutes of class, and they have to try and match the word to the definition. And that'll be kind of their focusing activity. We'll discuss the words and everything, and then they have to do an activity where if they still don't really understand the word, they have to look it up and then write sentences properly using that word. In the story, Zero doesn't know how to read, and Stanley begins teaching him how to read. So in the story, I kind of want to emphasize like how they should appreciate knowing how to read and realize how important it is. So for my focusing activity, I'll have like symbols drawn on the board. Like one of them will be like a picture of a shoe, another will be like a barefoot, and then an open door. And I'll ask my students to like interpret what that means for me, and I'll be like, well, if none of us could read, that would be a sign like you need to take your shoes off before you come in my house. So the project will be for them they have to make a sign that conveys a specific message, but they're not allowed to use words. And then they'll come up in front of the class and try to get the class members to guess. And then their homework that night in their journals will be to like talk about the importance of reading and like what they learned from that workshop. And then it kind of ties into the story how like Zero wouldn't have gotten in trouble and went to the camp if he knew like not to take those shoes because he couldn't read the sign. So their final assessment, I decided not to do a test because I just feel like it's kind of redundant. We've been doing all these activities that rate the book, and I don't want them to just pointlessly memorize information. So I actually am making them write a speech because we talk about the whole story, how Stanley's character has changed for the better. He's so much more confident now. He's glad he went to the camp because he learned like he is worth something. And so I said for the students to imagine what they think Stanley would be doing 10 years from now, because the book's over, they finished it. So I said that he would be a motivational speaker. So what the 7th graders have to do is they have to write a speech as if they are Stanley, or 10 years from now, speaking to a group of 7th graders about how they need to like believe in themselves and follow their dreams. And even though right now maybe they're getting bullied or people don't like them, they just need to keep going. And then I got this outline from a website, the one listed down here, that kind of outlines it in easier terms for a 7th grader. And basically the speech, I'm not going to be super like critical on grading it. I just want them to have an experience with public speaking, because a lot of kids get to high school and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, and they freak out. So they have to have the outline with all this, and then basically it just has to be 5 minutes long. It has to be motivational. They have to speak to their 7th grade peers, so the audience kind of already fits. And they have to practice like their eye contact, their voice volume, and pace. And then I just thought it was a good like wrap up for the whole book, because it's Stanley's life. Like they can be as creative as they want with it, like how his personality is 10 years from now. And that's it.
The only real problem I have is write their own chapter. How are they going to do that in?
No, I write their own chapter.
That's what you said.
Yeah, they like.
You got patterns.
It's just like a one-page thing of what they think he'll do. Like if they think he'll go after Zero, or if they think he'll just stay at the camp. Like it's only a page long. It's not like a full chapter. So it's
write their own sentence or write their own paragraph, not their chapter.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said chapter. It's a one-page paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a full chapter. It's intense.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions for it? No.
I don't. I have to
Okay.
read it. But
Okay.
yeah, that was